feel like I left y'all short, so I wanted to come back and plus I'm new at this, right? You would think as long as I've been on Facebook, I would know how to run a live, but I'm new at this, so I wasn't even paying attention to the comments. And I hate to sound preachy, so um, I wanted to open it back up to a dialogue because I talked to Hot Sauce earlier today. If y'all don't know who Hot Sauce is, it's Danielle Hot Sauce. She runs Spark FM online. In fact, she told me to tag her when I did this joint. And see what I mean? This is how I knew. I apologize because I tagged it. That tag didn't even work. I want it to be a conversation. I really don't ever want to be preaching. You know what I mean? This is not church. And with the issues, I wanted to be at least give people a chance to ask questions. If I could provide some advice, if I could, talk to you directly about what I would do or what strategies I've seen work. I wanted to open it back up for that. Yeah, I back here. So tonight, I'm just going to share with you what I'm thinking about. Tonight we have a meeting, and when I say we, I mean the South End Roxbury Partnership 2.0, which is the name of the Facebook group, with City Councilor at Large Michelle Wu. And so, to be straight with you, my preparation, we're not going to be able to talk in the Zoom meeting, but we're going to chat. But I trust that Yahira represents us well. And so, going back to the piece I was talking about earlier, I think it's important that we start to build other people in our community, not just our elected leaders. Because as you know, there's too many issues for all of us to be fighting all the time. When I was talking to Hot Sauce earlier today, she was like, how can you attend all the meetings? How can you be in the know? How can I be paying attention to what's going on Marty's Mile, around Melanie and Cass, and pay attention to the bike lanes and traffic controls that they're putting in place on Cummins Highway? How can I do it? And the truth is you can't. Simple as that. The truth is you can't be everywhere. And even the electeds can't be everywhere, right? But as community members, if we share the responsibility, we can. Like I was telling you earlier, if we share the messages, and we share information, if we knock on our neighbor's door and say, hey, I'm going to this meeting, or I went to this meeting. So I want to make sure I practice that. So tonight, everybody I believe cares about what people used to call Methadone Mile. Some people call it Marty's Mile. I'm anxious to hear what Councilor Wu, and here's going back to the accountability. I'm anxious to hear what Councilor Wu presents to the group. Now, I assume, this is my assumption, that she's not going to address the fact, and it would be nice, she's not going to address the fact that she has been pretty much absent on the issue the last 7 years, which, in my opinion, doesn't build much faith. And for me to believe that something's going to change moving forward. It also makes me feel like the reason why you're doing this is because you're running for mayor. That's just my opinion. It might ring true to you, it might not. But where were you the last 6 years that all of a sudden now you're motivated to take these steps and meet with the community and hear us out when we've been, knocking at your door and calling 311 and filing all these issues repeatedly? I gotta remember to check comments and see if people check in. Now no one got any comments. I missed the comments last time, my apologies. And now there's no comments, no dialogue. But anyway, the questions for her are, and again, around Marty's Mile, it's divided into two different issues. There's the real issue of recovery. There are people there that are homeless, there are people there that are drug addicted, and there's the crimes that go around that go around that, right? But the recovery piece is special. We all know that the Long Island Bridge was closed for safety reasons. For those that might not know, I'll try to catch you up with a quick. In 2013, it was closed. So in some ways, Mayor Walsh inherited this. The city of Quincy does not want to assist Boston in getting the permits to rebuild the bridge and have that traffic in and out. It's a good point. I'll come back to that, Marshall. Thank you for adding that to the conversation. So all these people that were housed, some of the homeless and some that were in detox programs on this island were brought to the city and kind of, they were bussed into the city and dropped there. And this happened in 2013, 14, right? Um, Opioid epidemic is exploding. It's been there. And so there's a real, recovery's not easy. People have to want it. And there's a whole fight to make sure that this is not just Boston's issue, but people are dealing with it because they're coming from other cities and towns. You know, if you see people coming from Norwood, Quincy, they're coming from all over the place. A lot of these people are not local to Boston, but once they're here, they're here. This reason why it was called methadone mile is because there is a concentration, let me rephrase, a saturation, an oversaturation. There are too many methadone clinics and sober homes and hospitals in this mile stretch. So when you centralize all these services, it's not that we don't want the services for people, but when you centralize them all in the same place, then you offset the balance. Now we have too much, and it should have been spread out throughout the city, but I don't believe that was by accident. So there's that part. And that part is that you need your legislators, your city councilors, your mayor, and your governor to do something about that, because they are the ones that, their bodies and the people that they represent, they issue permits to open these things and where they should open them. And there's an argument that it should be close to the hospitals and whatnot, but it still is just an oversaturation. And they don't put them in other neighborhoods. The reason why you don't put them in other neighborhoods goes back to what I was saying in the previous live, is that those other neighborhoods have more political power. And because they have more political power, they hold their elected officials accountable. They know, the elected officials know not to dare support one being open in their neighborhood because they'd hear about it. Our neighborhoods are too often silent, so we get dumped on. Shout out Jarrell, exactly. We get dumped on. And then we have to deal with the problem afterwards. But if we already had the reputation for not allowing the bullshit, they wouldn't try the bullshit. That part is self-accountability. That's why I feel like we have to do a better job. Before even the electeds can do a better job, we have to do a better job explaining to people that we vote for, listen, we don't want that shit. And I know some people get, oh, we shouldn't be like, not in my backyard. No, we got too much. We got too much. So that's a more complicated side. But what I really want to hear from our city councilor, and this is the part where I was talking about earlier, that people should be aware of what a city councilor can and cannot do. Before you decide to run for office, before you decide to vote for somebody just because they showed up at your event and took pictures at your cookout, you need to know what they can do and what they can't do. What they can do is advocate for more services. What they can do is lead a community meeting with you. What they can do is help you build that political power in your community. They can print flyers and go door to door the same way they will go door to door for you in a campaign to ask for your vote. The same way they will call you and text you on your cell phone to ask you to vote and see who you're voting for. They could do the same exact thing to build community power in your community. That way, when an issue arises and they say, listen, we need sharp disposal boxes, we need a police presence at the park, we need a cleanup at sunrise before the students of the Mason School get to the park to use it, before the grandmothers start walking and getting their exercise in. We need a cleanup crew, that way they don't have to worry about needles. That way they can walk their dog and not have to worry about the dog stepping on needles. They can do it again at noon. They can say, we want that cleanup crew at noon. Peace, Reggie. And then we need another one after dark. And we need a police presence. Now, they can start with that. And then when we call them, and I'm telling you this is what happened, then when Mingos catches the public works people sleeping in their truck or walking through the park real quick and filling out the sheet and saying, we did it, but he goes right behind them and finds 20 needles, that same city councilor can get those phone calls and say, listen, call the city, call the chief of this department, because every public works department and parks and recreation department has their own captains for every district. They break it up just like blocks, just like territories. It's broken up, and there's bosses for every territory. Your people aren't doing their job. You need to send them back out here. You need to make sure that they are responsible for doing a thorough cleanup. These are the jobs of a city councilor. Addressing hot sauce's piece earlier, and I think Marshall raised it too. There's so many communities I mean, there's so many meetings happening around so many different issues. It would drive you crazy to try to attend all of them, right? Because we care about a lot of them. You care about the reopening of schools. You care about what's going on in stashes. You care about the bike lanes on Cummings Highway and whether it's going to work. But you can't attend all of them. And you can't even you don't even know where to get the information about where it was happening if you could attend. The same elected officials that ask you for your vote have campaign dollars. They set up a website to get your vote and tell you how ill they are, how ill they're going to be, right? They can set up a website or a blog and to give you this information. They could put up a community calendar regularly to tell you where the meeting's going to be. They could come back the next day and they could do a live. They could do a video. They could post what they thought came out of the meeting so that you could just watch it in 15 minutes and get a sense of what happened in the meeting and maybe get a call to action if one was required. Why shouldn't they use the same tools? Well, I'm not going to say they should. If you ain't going to make them do it, they ain't going to do it. All I can say is that they have the dough to do it. They have the staff to do it, but they don't do it. And I don't think they do it because you ain't asked them to do it. You know what I'm saying? I know it gets all dreamy and we feel like, well, they should just do it. They should know. Nah, they shouldn't. They might not. You know what I mean? Like, let's look at it like this. This is a hypothetical. If I'm dating 7 different women, I know people are cringing right now, like, Carl, why would you? If I'm dating, I'm engaged to one, so I ain't tripping. If I'm dating 7 different women, and everybody seems like they're content, there's no problem as long as they don't meet and they don't talk. But once they meet and they talk, they might have a higher expectation. That might ruin my game. That's what the elected officials do. If you ain't gonna say nothing, I'll come to your cookout, I'll come to your party, and as long as you're cool over there, you cool over there, then I'm not gonna show up. If 20 more of us showed up or y'all got together and be like, yo, that's what they told you? They told me something different. Or let's show up at the same time. You remember old school, they used to call somebody if they were lying? You would call them on 3-way, and the person would sit there and not say nothing, and then when you got caught in the lie, they'd be like, you caught your ass, you was lying. That's what this is. Like, you have to call them out, you have to catch them in a lie. You have to do it as a group, as a collective, as a collective. What's Marshall saying? They don't show up, invitations go out, they don't come. Right. You have, it is a popularity contest. Don't get it twisted. Politics is a popularity contest. It's just you decide what makes them popular. Let me say that again. You're absolutely right. Politics is a popularity contest. He or she, the most popular one, is who's going to get elected. I got to get 50% of the votes plus one more. And when I say one more, shout out to Julia Mejia, all you need is one more vote than the other person. But what makes them popular is up to you. If you think they're popular because like I said, because they came to your event and that's what you're going to vote for them on, then they ain't going to do no more than show up at your event. If you think they're popular because they mailed to you 3 times or they always been there for you when you called, but they ain't there for the rest of the community, then they're going to keep doing that. And I'm not, it sounds like I'm blanking and everybody, but I'm speaking in general, right? This is how the system of politics works. You only gonna do what's asked of you. They can't do it all either. So, you know, which anecdote you want me to put in? The squeaky wheel gets the oil, a closed mouth don't get fed. I mean, which one you want to hear to get it? So we can't keep playing victim when we are holding ourselves accountable, when we are the ones making them popular. You know, this person, they look nice in a suit. I like the way they talk, so I'm gonna vote for that person. Oh, this person seems a little bit too rough. Well, you might want someone rough on the city council or in the state house. You might want someone polished, and you might want someone rough, as long as they're doing what they told you they were gonna do, or as long as you told them what to do when they're doing it. And that's what we have to get past. Like, I don't know I don't know how else to say it. I mean, we have been saying it for years, but we also can't say it to the same people. You know, I really want to, I'm going to single out a few people. Like, I really like Julio Mejia's campaign last year, and I mean last cycle, and yours too, Mingles, because it was unconventional. And when I say that, I mean it's not even what I would necessarily do if I was running, right? You know, there's a formula that we people stick to usually to make sure that they win, and they kind of buck the formula. Like, you know, to tell people that you're gonna focus on black and brown neighborhoods is not always the most politically correct thing to do. But to do that and then win and then come back and serve and be paying attention to the issues in those neighborhoods, you doing what you said you were going to do. I have respect for that. And if that changes, then I usually do what Mayor Menino asked me to do. He said, just don't surprise me. If I'm doing something that you don't like, let's have a private conversation about it. And if we can't come to an agreement, then I expect it to be a public clash. And I respect that. That's how politics should be. It's a relationship. You're doing something I don't like, let's talk about it. And if we can't reach an accord, then I'm going to put you on blast. I'm going to go to my community, who I'm responsible to, who holds me accountable, and I'm going to tell them what's going on. So I digressed fully away from what I was talking about tonight, which was the meeting with Councilor Wu. So I believe the things we're asking for is cleanup, trash cans, cleanup crew, police presence, what her plan is. I want to ask where she's been. I'm dying to ask that shit. But I'm not leading it, and I don't need to lead it. And the reason why I don't need to lead it, because I have full faith in Domingos, I have full faith in Yahira, I have full faith in Leon, and I have full faith in all the people that have joined them from the South End and Roxbury. But I know that group could use 100 more people, and you don't have to necessarily be vocal. Just joining the group, letting the group have the numbers. And we members of all kinds of groups on Facebook. I look down the left side of my page, I got group memberships to shit that I never even look at. I don't even know how I got in that group. So if I can be in those groups, I can be in this group and just lend my name to it. Occasionally see something drop a hint about, hey, pay attention over here, or I just read this and peep this. Centoria Grant, great point. Politics is local. You know, here's something I wanted to throw. The only thing I wasn't going to throw no jabs at nobody. Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence, we all watched him the other night, deny that there was racism in the criminal justice system. Right? Your vice president. Now, you might have expected it from somebody that supports Donald J. Trump. It wasn't a surprise to you. And everybody got outraged like, oh. But you got a local police commissioner who believes the same thing. So the link for the Zooms, you have to join the group. You have to join the South End Roxbury Partnership 2.0. If you join the group, the link for the Zoom is in there. You can get in there tonight, and I'll be in there tonight at 6 o'clock. So join the group. Your hire is on point. As soon as you join the group, you'll probably get approved and be right in there. But your local police commissioner feels the same way. And your local mayor hired a dude that feels the same way. So how, on the one hand, can I say, hey, you know, I'm the mayor of the city of Boston, and I'm for whatever it'll take to root out racial discrimination in our police department in our city, and then hire somebody who doesn't believe there is any racial discrimination or bias in the police department. That shit don't match. You know what I'm saying? That's lemons and limes. That's apples and oranges. The shit don't match. So if you are okay with that, then you'll continue to vote and be like, well, I'm all right with that. Oh yeah, and they see blue. So you don't see color, you don't see blue. So how can you talk about community policing? How can you talk about over policing our communities? How can you have a mayor that says, they love this line. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. Well, they're arresting disproportionately people in our communities that look like me versus people in other communities that don't, but they only see blue. You know what I mean? The shit don't match. You got it. Thank you, Marshall. And there's all kinds of discrepancies that you have to see like that. That one person saying one thing, but he answers to somebody. This shit is just disingenuous. So how can we believe that they're going to change the complaint process for people that have been disrespected by police? How are you going to believe that anything that they say is genuine? What's the James Baldwin quote? I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. That's all we gotta do is open our eyes. And it's enough of us out here to make sure we talk to everybody. Like, we don't all have to be at the same meeting. We don't all have to think the exact same thing, but we should be able to agree. And I'm looking at some people like a lot of y'all posted your selfie with Commissioner Gross when he got appointed. Have that same energy now that he says he don't see he don't see white and black, he only see blue. Have that same energy, because you can't tell me that you're mad about what's happening in Ferguson and you're mad about what's happening all over the country, but you're okay with a black police commissioner saying he don't see his officers as white or black, he just sees blue. Blue ain't a skin color. People are not killed because they're blue. People are not over incarcerated because they're blue. People do not get pulled over and stare down the barrel of a gun for a routine traffic stop because they're blue. I don't know how we can, we should be able to agree on that shit, and then we should be able to say to the mayor collectively, yo, we're not feeling, you can't just call for the police commissioner to be fired. Well, we need accountability. I call for him to be fired. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. It goes back to what I'm saying. If we're not organized, if there's not 5,000 of us saying it, if there ain't 10,000 of us saying it, even then, well, the police commissioner is not. I don't think he's protected by union rules. So we need to look that up. This is when I would this is when I would lean on the wisdom of like a Senator Wilkerson or even a Jamal Crawford. Like, I don't think the commissioner is protected by the same union rules as officers. So he can be hired and fired by the mayor at any time. Now, the mayor would take a hit, right? This is what I would think the mayor is thinking. A white mayor doesn't necessarily want to fire the first black police commissioner because he saw how many selfies y'all posted. He saw that y'all loved it. He knows that y'all love it. Let me just offer them a black police commissioner, and they'll love it. It'll be the first. We'll be progressive. We're moving right along. See, yeah, he's appointed. He can be hired and fired. So, but it would take that reversal until we can look at ourselves and be like, yo, you know what? I posted that selfie. I got a little excited. I do need to come with the same energy because he is talking that bullshit now. And I should be sharing the information that for the last 7 to 9 years, the police department's been spending your money, your tax dollars, from your home taxes and your excise tax and your parking fees to fight discrimination lawsuits against black and brown police officers. So y'all spending money to fight discrimination that y'all don't believe is there. Y'all spending taxpayer dollars. Nobody's checking how much y'all spending to keep 2, 3, 4, 10 officers from being promoted, to keep them from being punished for things. You see the names on the left? Like, this is why I want to host these conversations. Like Brenda James, if you read the Boston Globe. We remember what the Boston Police Patrolmen's Union, what was in their newsletter, the Pax Centurion, and they're playing it quiet right now, right? There's been no public comment, so they might have to take this L for the mayor. The mayor might have done his due diligence and called and said, listen, I gotta deliver a win. Election year is coming next year. If you want me to still be around, you're gonna have to give me something. That's how it works. You got to give me something, union. And they're gonna say, well, you have to give us something. You have to give us a bump in pay. You have to back off the overtime. Make sure overtime spout stays open. It's politics as usual. So even those that don't believe in politics, I implore you to pay attention, because and I can't guarantee that it's going to change. I wouldn't bullshit you, because the truth of the matter is, obviously, getting a black commissioner doesn't keep young black boys from staring down the barrel of a gun in the middle of the night, right? It doesn't change the complaint process for those that have been disrespected. It hasn't added the fact that people with mental health issues, instead of being de-escalated, are still being killed on the streets of Boston. So that accountability we talking about, that energy we have for all these hashtags and all this other stuff going on, pay attention right here at home. Pay attention right here at home. It happens right here. It's local. Let me read some of these comments. I told y'all in the beginning I'd be a little sloppy not reading the comments. But I want to make sure we engage. Brenda James been on the air 10 years. So there are people that Stephon love coming in and asking the question. You know, you don't never want to scroll up and just read what's going on. We're talking about everything. We're talking about everything. But mainly we're talking about being more accountable and gaining some more political power by us being organizing and sharing information. Stop letting these people just roll over us. Stop getting all excited for the symbolism of a mural on the street, or the first black this, or the first woman this. Like, policy change. First you need the political power to change the policy. Then you need someone that knows the policy to write a new policy. Then you need people to watch to make sure that they enforce the policy. Like, these are steps. You can't skip none of these steps. You can't just go from, you know what I'm saying, from Baltic Ave right to Park Place. It doesn't work. You got to go all the way around the board. Oh man, what's up, Stephon? What's up, Stephon? Shoot your comment, sunshine. Oh, you know she doesn't just do it to you. Well, thank you. She does it to everybody. It's a thing. You just gotta accept people for who they are. You know, Janice got a comment. We have a community advocate on this thread that was calling drug-using Boston residents on the methadone mile meth heads. I am Boston about the language being poor. You ignore me. How can we build leadership? We hold leadership responsible when we don't hold each other. And we don't hold each other accountable. So this goes back. I don't know when you got in. Came exactly oversight on policy and implementation. I don't want to control anyone's belief system, and I can't hold, again, for me to hold anyone accountable, I have to assume authority over you. I'm not looking to assume authority. People have asked me not to call it methadone mile. I'm gonna call it methadone mile from time to time because I know why it's called methadone mile. Because there's a overabundance of methadone treatment clinics in that mile. I'm gonna ask y'all to sidebar that, but people are gonna call it what they want. People have different feelings, and I try to be respectful. This is just my mantra. I try to be respectful of people's feelings, and know that everybody got a different belief. Like, some people are gonna be so upset that the crack epidemic, we were treated so harshly in our communities versus how the heroin epidemic and white people are being treated now that they're under the gun of it. And I get that. I get the visceral reaction. I get the emotional reaction, and I'm not gonna argue with anybody about it, because to me, that's not my key issue. My key issue is I don't want the grandmothers, mothers, and children of the neighborhood and the coaches to have to deal with needles. Once we get the needles gone, and once we get the shit off the sidewalks and out the parks, then I'll come back to the language. Then I'll come back and we can figure out what the topic, you know, what the appropriate terminology is. But that's what I mean. But we have to do that through I think we have to do that through conversation. You know, I think we just have to agree on what's important. My priority might not be your priority, and until we talk about it, we're not going to agree what the priority is. So let's try to figure out 4 or 5 things that we can agree on, and then let's figure out a strategy that we agree on. We're all going to go to the governor's house. We're all going to call next week, I believe the 16th, Domingos, if you're still on, correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's in the South End Roxbury Partnership 2.0 Facebook group, but there's a call to action to make sure there's a call blitz day, to make sure we're all calling Governor Baker's office on the same day and requesting the same thing. And it's already a script designed. You don't have to come up, you can freestyle it, or you can just follow the script. The treatment centers, methadone, sober houses, it's just a dangerous, I'm sorry, I'm going off the comments. This is a dangerous mix of services without the support. Like, you know, if you arrest somebody for heroin use in Roxbury and they go to jail and they are locked up in the South Bay House of Corrections for a term of 6 to 8 months and they get clean because they're inside, and then you release them out onto Bradston Street and they walk 2 blocks and there's heroin everywhere, what do we think is going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, those are the systems that have to be broken. So maybe it's not the best place to put methadone treatment centers and in sober homes and early release halfway houses all in the same mile, within the same mile. Um, Mingos brings up a good point, and it's getting good to me. Y'all gonna have to until the numbers start, until y'all start leaving. I'm gonna keep talking. The South End, I'm glad there's a partnership, right, between the South End and Roxbury, because it wasn't really until the problem crept over into the South End that it really became an issue. Because we know there's invisible lines in Boston, right? Once you cross Washington Street, or once you cross Mass Ave, you get into a higher tax bracket, right? We all know the invisible lines. You know where people get shot and where people don't get shot. You know once you're north of Mass Ave, or what is it, east of Mass Ave or north of Washington Street, you're in a predominantly white neighborhood. You've quickly gone from a ghetto to a predominantly white neighborhood, and they're not going to tolerate paying property taxes in their $1 million brownstones to come outside with their $400 stroller and have to step over someone that might be ODing or just passed out on their cobblestone sidewalk. They're not going to do it. So what they do is they start calling. And, we might joke about the Karens and the Kyles, but they calling. And on this issue, they doing the right thing. And they're calling their counselors and they're calling the mayor, and they're like, yo, we might withhold our property tax payment if y'all don't give us the services that we're asking for. We have to pick up these lessons in our own hoods, in our own neighborhoods. For it to be a neighborhood and not the hood, you need to know your neighbor. You need to talk to your neighbor. See, I get it, but see, again, we can get sidetracked like, yeah, people call them crackheads, and now we're more sensitive. That could be growth, it could be discrimination, it could be whatever. But that to me is still a sidetrack. Like, I want people to be able to get treatment. I don't want them to be disrespected as human beings, but I'm not gonna get caught up in what they're called by everybody. We can't police everybody's words. You don't like the way someone describes it, I get it. Language is important, but if you don't like the way someone describes it, are you going to scrub the whole mission? Do you walk away from it? Or maybe you just don't engage with that person. You know what I mean? This is what I feel really holds us back in our community is our failure to communicate in healthy ways and move in healthy ways. Like, we get caught up on so many little things, all the little minutiae, that we miss in the big picture. Meanwhile, they over. I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it again. I used to work for Michael Flaherty. Michael Flaherty is the son of South Boston. I got nothing against South Boston. I know growing up, my mother told me never to go there. Now, this is before yuppie South Boston. This is the old South Boston. But I worked for this guy, and every couple of weeks, the South Boston electeds would meet. It would be him. It would be State Rep Brian Wallace, Senator Jack Hart, and maybe Congressman Lynch would stop in, but rarely. But at least the three of them, right? Oh, and Councilor Jim Kelly. So you had the district councilor, an at-large councilor, a state rep, and a state senator. All sons of Southie. 4 powerful men from the same neighborhood. South Boston electeds. And they would meet behind a closed door. It would be like Thursday morning, early, 8 a.m. It would just be me in the office. They come in and they close the door. And some days it was quiet and it was just sound like a regular business meeting. And some days the shit got raucous, like it sounded like a bar fight. And I would go. I'm walking to the water cooler because I don't know none of y'all like that. If everybody hooks off and starts swinging, I don't need to be in that conversation. Man, y'all are still on that same. See what I mean? Locked in. Y'all are missing a good story here about building community power. They would beef with community activists. People would come in complaining about what buildings were being built, who was building it, what programs were being funded, what wasn't being funded. I mean, they was in there fighting and cursing. There was curse words, and I would do some of the curse words, some of my favorite. We don't use them necessarily the same ones in our neighborhood, but it was serious. You would think it was a fight. But when the door opened, I'd be back in the office at my desk, ready to take some phone calls. You remember I got the little business card and feeling myself as constituent director. And they would come out and shake hands. Brian, Jack, Mike, brother, see you next week, see you next week, see you tomorrow, see you tomorrow. Thanks. How the kids? Kids good? Yep, cool. And whatever needed to get done for South Boston, if that means I need to go upstairs to a zoning hearing and support a building or deny a building on behalf of the counselor, that's what got done. Because they put their community first by building their political power and being on the same page through communication. Now, I know I've told this story before. I don't know if everybody's heard it. Senator Wilkinson and them had a machine like this back in the day called the Black Political Task Force. I'm a student of this. I didn't just hop in the game because I wanted to run for city council. I've been studying this since I was a kid. And their machine was strong. They'd endorse candidates. They would put political pressure on other people. I mean, they was a force to be reckoned with. And they fell apart because they had a disagreement. Someone went against the grain. They endorsed a white guy, and they felt like that shouldn't have happened with the Black Political Task Force, and it derailed the whole mission. Similar to what's going on in the comment section right now, right? Rather than talk about how we come together, we still arguing about what I feel is minutia. Maybe y'all don't feel like it's minutia. So I tried to reinvent this a couple years ago, 2011, 12. I was new to the State House, and I convened. I tried to do this before I got elected, and that's when Senator Wilkinson and Mel King put me in my place. Like, you better crawl, then walk, then run. You think you're just gonna pull together all these people? So I'm new. I pulled together all the black and brown electeds in the city of Boston. There were 12 of us. I don't even remember all the names, but it was me. And no disrespect, I'm just using first names or how the names come to me. So forgive me for not using titles and all that. It was me. It was Russell Holmes. It was Felix Arroyo. It was Sonia Chang Diaz. It was Linda Dorsina Forey. Sheriff Tompkins came on when he was there. It was Councilor Yancey. It was State Rep Gloria Fox. It was Councilor Ayanna Presley. Who am I missing? That was 9. I'm missing a few others, just like that. I'm already forgetting myself. I don't know if I counted myself. That's 10. But the idea was that the 10 of us, I'm telling you that if Michael, Brian Wallace, Senator Hart, and Jim Kelly can move Southie along with just 4 of them and community behind them. And we got 10 elected officials who represent Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, pretty much the same people. Why aren't we moving the agenda along? Now, I got 2 answers for that. One is I didn't feel like the will of that group was strong enough. I think people was playing it safe. But also the community wasn't demanding of it. South Boston demands that you serve South Boston. West Roxbury demands that you serve West Roxbury. And they come out and donate. If you serve well, they come out and vote, and they support you when you're running as an elected official. But the demand comes from the people. So if we start making those demands, if we start making those asks, if we start speaking to each other as community and then going to our elected officials and telling them what our expectations are and being serious about not voting for them if they're not going to uphold our expectations. We're about to do it again, right? And I'll probably wait a couple days, maybe not, but I really want to tell y'all the story of 2013 and how we got Mayor Marty Walsh as mayor. From my perspective, there's a lot of different stories out there. I was really on the ground, very active during that time in that race. And before this new cycle starts, it won't be an open seat, of course, but it is reminiscent of multiple challengers. You have 2 challengers of color, an Asian woman and a black woman from the community. You're going to have open at-large seats. So there's going to be some choices to be made. And we need to be informed and we need to be organized on how we make these choices if these choices are going to benefit us. Because truly, I feel like we dropped the ball in 2013 and 2014. I feel like we had a nice 4-year window to hold Marty's feet to the fire, and if he didn't come correct, get him the hell out of there. Now, I'll save that for another story, another time. Um, but we like all this, you know what I mean? Like we can't lose sight of the goal. We got to create the space where we can have these sidebar conversations. Honestly, we should be able to, create a space where we talk, we argue, we can yell at each other, just like they did in the room that I described. And then when we come out the door, when we come out on Facebook, when we come out in public, when we come out to the community meeting, we've put that shit behind us. We realize what the prize is, and we're focused on it. We can't use every community meeting and every public forum to hash out our own trauma, to hash out our own, oh, this is what happened to me, or I want to make this point because I need to win this point. That don't serve community. That serves individuals. I gotta cook dinner, and I gotta get ready for this meeting. The meeting starts in 5 minutes. South End Roxbury Partnership 2.0 on the Facebook page. Log in. City Council Michelle Wu is going to be speaking from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. It'll be moderated. Your mic will be muted, but you'll be able to participate in the chat, and the moderators will be able to read the chat. Her staff will be able to read the chat, and hopefully we'll get some responses that make sense around what's going on with Melnia Cass, Lower Roxbury, South End, and Marty's Mind. That's what I'm gonna call it. I don't care what y'all say. No, but I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming to the conversation. I'm trying not to overdo it with these, but I really feel like these conversations are important. And let's do better. That's all. Let's just do better. And shout out my man Milktavius Benedict, Milkshaw Benedict from Roxbury. If you saw this shirt, I'm getting a little hot in here for the hoodie. But this is my man Milk. He's a musician from Roxbury. You can find him streaming on platforms. When I stream him on Tidal, because Tidal's black owned and they pay the largest cut to artists. So buy milk, not necessarily the dairy product, but my man Milktavius Benedict, Milkshaw Benedict from Roxbury. I love you, boy. He's one of my young friends who challenges me to be a better man every day. Peace. See y'all in the next meeting in 5 minutes.